Have you ever just been ready for this to be over with? I think I'd much rather be this guy somewhere overseas riding in one of these, just chilling. Welcome back, YouTube. This is Dave. I'd like to thank you for checking out my channel. Just want to touch back base with you today. The last video that I did, it was sort of it was a piece of my story, how this all began, how things that conspired and led up to me coming to the Philippines for the first time. And I didn't tell all of the story, but I told sort of the first part, kind of what started and led up to it. In this video, I believe I'm going to try to I'll try to finish out the story. I'm not going to try to prolong it too very much, but I want to get the gist of the story out, just to give you an idea. Maybe there's somebody that this will help. I hope my videos will be informative for you. And yeah, let's get into it. So we were 2015. I went through my divorce. Everything's final. Everything's worked out. So that's out of the way. So I now can technically, in my eyes, I can now begin to date, begin to talk to someone, and from that perspective. And by now, I have, I've been talking to a young lady at this point, and we've become what I would say really good friends. We really have. We talk a lot. We talk on the phone all the time. As far as back then, it was Skype and Facebook and stuff. And I've got me a Facebook. As you know, in the previous video, I never had Facebook. I didn't have it until this point. But we're talking on Facebook and Skype, and it's just about every day. So we're getting to know each other pretty well, inside and out. And not knowing a whole lot about the Philippines or a Filipina, I'm still fresh and new to learning as much as I can. I'm trying to learn what I can about the culture, about the people, about Filipinas, just so I'm not kind of coming into this blind when I do finally touch ground over there. So, I take, for the most part, as much information as I can, and not try to apply it to everybody, but understand that for the majority, this is how the culture is, this is how Filipina is. So I'm taking everything in. So as I said, we were talking, video chatting and all that. So here it is. I start trying in January. I start to plan trying to get a trip. So I start looking at the company that I was working with at the time, and everything. I start working to try to see about hey, let's start working to get off work. Let's try to take. I want to take 30 days. I want to take 1 month, and I want it to myself. Hey, boss man, can can I do this? And in the beginning, it was kind of yeah, and then it was like hee-hawing around and everything, and so like I say, in the beginning, it's like, all right, so I'm starting to look at dates and this and that, and times and flights and everything, and I think the beginning, I think it was March. I was potentially looking at sometime in March, and me being the person I am, I'm pretty frugal, so I'm searching prices and everything. I'm looking at flights. It's, start at the main thing. Let's look at flights, and I start trying to narrow down what I think is the best time. So every day, and I was looking different times of the day, see if prices would fluctuate. I was trying to figure this out and trying to get the best deal I possibly could get. So I set everything in. I think it was somewhere around the middle of March I'd set in place, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this and all that. And I was looking at hotels, and I knew where I wanted to go and everything. I knew I wanted to stay on McCarty Avenue. So, because McCarty and BGC, it was more, I guess the best way I could explain it, they're more modernized, and everything that I could ever possibly think of needing was going to be right there within an arm's reach. If that come up, there was a hospital close by. If anything, God forbid, was to happen, I'd be pretty close. I'd heard, some horror stories of somebody, possibly being out into the province and getting hurt, and it just taking hours and hours to get into a hospital. And I knew I didn't want to, especially the first time, get into that situation. And then there again, you have, I'll go back in, don't always trust what people say to you, because they may not know what they're talking about. I had family and friends, and they were all, man, you don't want to go over there, man. You'll get yourself killed. Them's dangerous places over there. And most folks, if they've never went out the country, don't talk to them about, or rather don't, and this is just my opinion, don't take what somebody says as gospel, as 100% truth. Because a lot of times they're just speaking on what they think might be going on in a certain area, and they'll call it the Philippines, and they could be talking about China somewhere. They have no idea, because they've never left the comfort of their own home or their own state, for that matter, most of them. And so I don't really trust what somebody says. It's just what they think they've seen on TV. Typically, is what advice they're giving you. And I've learned, let's don't go with that. Kind of talk to people. Trust what you see. Trust and verify is what I say. Trust it from people that's done it, boots on the ground, that's been there, and any amount of time. Because let's take, for instance, if I go over there and I spend 30 days, technically all I can give you is my 30-day experience. And 30 days is not enough for anybody to learn anything about any particular part of any country, anywhere. I'm going to get a small glimpse and an idea of what things are like in the areas that I went to. And so I spent 1 month in the Philippines, divided up between Makati Avenue and a few select destinations around Manila, and a week in White Beach, which I believe is Porto Clara. But anyhow, a week there, and then 2 weeks in Luzon in the province, up north of Manila and all that. So my experience is very limited. So when you start listening to somebody talk or watch videos, if you're trying to figure out what it's like, of people that's been there and spent some time, take for instance me. I mean, I watched everything I could with everyone. People that's, they would do a 2-week vacation, which I think is that's wild. I don't understand that you can't, by the time you land, you're done loading back up on the plane and leaving again. So 2 weeks to me that's a ridiculous thing. If I'm flying, 8 or 10,000 miles somewhere, I'm going to stay for a little bit. And I know everybody's not able to do that, and I definitely understand that. So if 2 weeks, I guess, is all you can do, then, for that first experience, I'd at least try it. You do what you can, I guess. But I definitely implore you, if you can, to try to stay longer. If you can stay a couple months, 3 months, that's great. That'll give you a fair idea of what things are like, real hand experience. But anyhow, I'll keep rambling. Let me get on. So we talk. We decide, hey, I'm going to try to get me a plane ticket. I'm going to try to book me a hotels and stuff like that. So we're trying for mid-March, and so I'm looking. I don't book my flight, but I've got a rough idea. I've narrowed it down. This is going to be a rough idea of what it's going to cost me to fly there. So, which was a good thing I didn't do this, and you'll see why in a minute. I didn't go ahead and book the flight, but I went ahead and booked my hotel. And I sort of learned my lesson on the first one, as far as booking with someone. I learned my lesson on this. I booked, give a deposit, and all this on, and I went the simplest thing I knew, which is booking.com. And I done that, and I didn't go overly expensive, but for Philippines, for Philippine pricing, it was pretty expensive. I could have easily cut that in half, I believe. And, I think I got it for, I booked the whole month. I wanted to make sure I'll try to get me a home while I was there. I booked the whole month, to begin with. So I put my deposit down, and I think it was about $75, $80 a night. And that's pretty expensive in the Philippines, in my opinion. Makati, you could go a lot higher. You got the Peninsula and all that. God knows what that would run right now. But back then, I remember looking at the Peninsula in 2016 was when we were looking. And I remember the Peninsula was like $290 a night back then. And no, I ain't doing that. But, about $75 on average a night was what that was. At the hotel, and it wasn't nothing fancy. I made sure we got elevators, we got air conditioning all the time, and backup generators. I didn't want to, because I heard about brownouts, and I didn't want no part of that if I could help it. But so I searched booking.com. I went the simplest way we could. We done that. I was like, I know I can afford the $75 a night. I went ahead and booked the whole month to begin with. Get it down, and I know I can still do that. Still have enough money. I can go White Beach for a week. I'll just do that. That way, I ain't got to carry everything. And I actually, for me, I thought I took a lot. I took two bags, one carry-on, and they let you take a book bag too. So I had like 4 total bags, and I had a book bag on my back. I had a carry-on, and then 2, under the plane. And which was way more than I'd ever need for a month. But I was worried, man. I took everything I could possibly think of, snacks, because I didn't know if I'd get to the Philippines. That's the only thing. I seen a few things. I knew they had McDonald's, but I remember people saying, well, McDonald's is like twice as high as it is in America. So I knew I could always eat at McDonald's or something like that. And I knew they said that you could find, a few Americanized in big cities, restaurants and stuff. So I knew I had that. So I brought snacks and things like that. I just bought all kind of goofy things, to be honest, and more clothes than I could ever need. Hold on. I brought like 4 pair of blue jeans, pair of pants, and a long sleeve shirt. Which one long sleeve shirt, I would suggest doing that, just my opinion. Because when it's bright out, when the sun's up and there ain't no clouds, that sun, after about 3 or 4 days in that hot heat, your arms get blistered, buddy. And so a lightweight, long sleeve shirt, I definitely would suggest at least one of those. But blue jeans, one for special occasion, and that's it. But anyhow, I'm getting off topic. I'll do a take with me kind of video, what I need to take with me at another time. But anyhow, so I book all this, I book my thing, and I go to start going to book my flights, and it's like at the end of the week. So I've already got my hotel. I've booked the hotel for White Beach, and unfortunately there's 2 resorts up in the Luzon area where her family's from, because like I say, I knew she was going to want to go up and meet them. She wanted me to meet them, and we were in an LDR, so she was my girlfriend at this time, and we were official. And everything, which that was crazy to me. I've never been in an LDR, but It was something different. So I knew I had to plan on that. So I scheduled, I booked the hotel there. I booked the one in White Beach. And thank goodness the one in White Beach and the one up in Luzon, they didn't require a deposit, I don't believe. I know Luzon, I'm not sure about Luzon, but I know White Beach did not. So I'm good. I got everything down, and I'm looking, and I booked that at the beginning of the week. So I wanted to lock that price in, and it wasn't god awful, but it was enough. So lock that down. So it's like Thursday, I think, now. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and book my flight. I'm going to catch it, because I kind of figured out if you'll book your flights, if you'll book them roughly 2, maybe 3 months out, from what I was finding on Cheapo Air, and I was using Cheapo Air, which same thing I use now, that or ASAP. If anybody knows any better places to look for hotels or anything, which now I use on hotels, I just use the Airbnb app or whatever. But if you know of any good places, leave it in the comments down below. Let me know what you have, and we all learn from that point. But anyhow, I go to book my flight and everything, and I'm in the middle. I'm at home. I'm done coming off the road, and I'm starting. I've done made my plans. I'm booking this. We're going to get this locked in for March, the middle of March, and I go to book my flight and everything, and I'm literally in the middle of the process, and my boss man calls, and he's like, "Hey, Dave, man, I ask you a huge favor, man. Can you push off? I've had some things come up, and I need you. Can you push off your vacation for a month or so?" And I'm like, "Dude, I've already started booking this stuff. I'm on my computer right now. I'm booking my flight as we speak. I'm just about ready to hit click, and there goes my money." And when you do your tickets, when your flight, it's done then. Your money's gone, and to get the cheap ones, unfortunately, I ain't found any that you can get refunds and all that. Once you paid, you're good. You're it. That's it. And he's like, "Well, man, hold off. I got to have you. I can't let you go right yet." And I'm like, man. So we get pushed off. And to keep from a long story get even longer, we don't push it off one time for a month. We push it off like 2 more times. Anyhow, it's July, or it's June before I even get to actually leave. So we've pushed it off several months, and finally in June, actually I think it's the last week in May I leave, and I'm over there in June for my 30 days and everything. So let's go ahead and press on. I get an aunt. So I said, "Hey, need somebody to drive me to the airport." You drive me, my aunt, and I think cousin or two rode with me, and if you will, just drop my bags off, and I'll, at the airport, and take my vehicle home, and I'll get one of those little shuttle buses to get me back toward home and everything, and I'll meet up with everybody and all of that. So I get to the airport, get everything. So everything's good to go. We've had the hiccup of getting the flight. Everything finally booked. Takes a little bit of a headache. And that's a scary thing for them, because when you start booking flights and saying, "Hey, baby, I've got a flight, and I've got our hotel and everything, and I've already done this. Everything's planned out." And then, man, the letdown to them that, it ain't going to quite work out the way we wanted to. The dates are being pushed back. And when you've done it like 2 or 3 times to them, they get a little bit worried. Well, he's probably lying to this and that. But anyhow, moving on. I get on my flight, and it really hasn't begun. Even when I get to the airport, I'm going on a trip. I go on trips all the time. But in the States, I've never flew out of the country. I never flew to California. And I was flying, first flight was Atlanta to LAX, and I had me a hotel, so I didn't want to fly for 5, 6, 7 hours, and then automatically just straight and jump on, a 13, 18 our flight toward Manila. So I spaced it out. I got one separate flight from Atlanta to LAX, round trip, and I knew when I was going to get there, and I knew when I was land back in LA, so I could plan it coming back to Atlanta. So I planned it out. So when I got to LA, I flew all day, got there, and my LAX flight to Manila wasn't going to leave out until the next morning. So I got me a hotel in Los Angeles, and shuttle bus took me there. Shuttle bus brought me back from the hotel, so that was good. Didn't cost me anything for that. So stayed out there in Los Angeles and got as much sleep as I could. I pushed myself to sleep all I could because I was worried about the plane, you know, and everything over, which if I could have done it different, I would have been tired. But I knew I at least wanted to sleep, you know, give me a decent rest before I went in there. But if I'd have done it different, I'd have probably stayed up most of the night so I could be tired. Took me a sleeping pill so I slept half the flight because it really was the longest flight I've ever felt in my life. You spend, you know, 10, 11 hours on a plane, which I think I was 11 and a half hours. I went from Los Angeles to, I think it's called Guangzhou, China, something like that. I went to China first, and there was a 3-hour layover, and then you picked up a plane there, a smaller jet, and flew from there to Manila. But that's how that worked out. And so before I even get on the flight, it hasn't dawned on me. It hasn't broke through what I'm about to do. I've never done this before. And sitting in the waiting area where before we get on the flight, and it hits me, and I'm leaving my country, and I'm going somewhere I've never been in my life, going to a third world country to meet essentially a woman. And it dawns on me at that point. I remember back to the first video I ever saw of Enrique, and I'm thinking, this guy's got to be crazy. Reflect back on myself. Here I'm doing exactly what these other guys have done. Flying to another country to meet a woman. And it sets in. This is it. There's, no turning back. Let's go. So, make our flight to LA, come back, and I'm rested up pretty fair, and we get back over to the gate, to the terminal gate, and we get checked in. And I believe it was Eastern China, I think was the name of it's been so long I can't remember. I'm pretty certain it's like Eastern China. It could be Northern China Airlines, I don't know. It was one of the cheapest of the cheap. It was a great flight, it really was. It had good food, and for a big dude, you get all you want to eat. I mean, they just every time I turn around, they're like, you want something else to eat? You want a sandwich? You want a Coca-Cola? We bring you beer. And I mean, I don't drink, beer or anything, but I have alcohol, all the fruit I wanted, just snacks everywhere. And I had an American breakfast, which I thought was odd. On a Chinese airline, I really thought it would be Chinese food or, Asian food the whole flight, but it wasn't. Ham and cheese sandwiches, had roast beef sandwiches, and everything, just whatever really you wanted. I think I had soup too, if you wanted soup. But anyhow, it was a great flight. Actually, I mean, I'm 6'5", and at the time I was quite a bit heavier. I was about 450 pounds back then, so I was a big, big man. Bigger than I am now, a lot bigger. I had plenty of leg room, plenty of seat room, which I was worried about that. I'd never been on a big, jumbo jet like that and flew. How comfortable is it going to be? But I honestly had plenty of leg room. But the good thing is my flight left out later that evening. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, it didn't. It left out in the morning time. So the next morning, I think it was I think it was about 11 or 12 o'clock, 12 noon flight. we leave out. So we take off, rested, plenty rested. And I got about 13 hours to fly to China. I think it's 12 or 13, I can't remember exactly. But we fly on to China. Now, this was the hard part. I thought LAX was a big airport. That airport in China, I swear I thought I walked 10 miles to the next gate to get to the airplane to take me to Manila. So, I mean, it was huge. It was in, the crazy thing is we get there and they take us on this, we walk halfway over to this thing, and then they put us on a bus and bus us over to this other deal, to the plane, and we go inside this other little whatever. But anyhow, it was just a wild ordeal. We finally get on the plane, and first flight out of the country, and we're on this, it's a smaller jet, it's not very big. Now the seats are a little bit tighter. And I'm flying coach. I'm not trying to be as cheap as I can. And young lady comes up and she says, "Sir, we would like to move you up front." And I'm like, "Okay." And I just go along with anything, whatever they say. I don't want to make it a big disturbance. So I grab my overhead bag and everything. I still got my book bag on me there. And so I'm like, all right, they move me to first class. They don't move me to business class. They move me straight to first class. This seat is like a foot wider than me, so it's monstrous. It rolled back like a recliner. I mean, it was nice. Not only that, you get better food up there too. And on a 2-hour flight, they give you like a fancy sandwich and fruit and alcohol. And it's 2 hours from China to Manila, 2.5 hours. So not only that, I get, bumped up, upgraded and all that. So it was a sweet flight. So here, I can remember, I'm a little tired, because I couldn't sleep very well on the plane, but watched all kind of movies on the big jet over. So that passed the times by. I figured if I could watch, about roughly six 2-hour movies, it would. I mean, by the time I get through the 6th one, I'm pretty close there. This is what I was thinking. So my mind wouldn't think so much about being on a jet plane high up in the air. First time doing this, So just trying to get something to get off my mind. So it actually wasn't that bad. Okay, I'm on the small plane. I'm headed toward Manila, and this is the first thing that hits me. So I can remember landing in China, and it's a little chilly. It's a little cold. It really is. It's a little bit cold. And so now I'm on this small plane. I'm fixing to land in Manila. And I can remember thinking before we even start the descent, my God, this is hot. It is hot in here. I wish they'd cut the air conditioner on. And I've got both of the little things up there facing at me, and it's blowing as hard as it can. And I feel like I'm about to smother. And the farther we start going into a descent, it just seems like it gets hotter and hotter. And I'm thinking, my goodness, I don't know if I can handle this heat. And we land and we get off this plane, and it actually was pretty quick. This little jet was it was packed out. But I saw videos of people flying in, this and that, and it taken hours to get through the airport, get through immigration, get through all this. We land, and it takes 10 minutes to deboard the plane. Everybody. So here's the big moment. My bag. Let's see if it shows up. Because I done flew all the way across the world with all these bags. Let's see if I actually end up with my bags. So I was worried about that, and I had all this crap in it. 5 minutes, here comes my bags right around. So here I'm 15 minutes into this, and I've got my bags. And as soon as I get the bags, you walk. I mean, it's just a little piece, and right there is immigration. So I hit immigration. Right there, there is nobody. And there's like several lines, and it's just us. And I think we finally land there. I mean, it's morning time, sometime in the morning. I don't know what time, but I know it's daylight outside. And so I hit immigration. They asked me a couple questions, and I remember they had to do this online pass thing. You had to do it before you got there, and as long as you done that, you were fine. So I made sure I'd done that while I was sitting in LAX airport. They tell you at the counter when you go through, and you get the hard ticket and all that once you show them on your phone. But anyhow, I done all that. I got to immigration. They asked me 2 or 3 questions. I was through. 150 foot through the door, and you walk through, and there's the cabs. So I'm 20 minutes off of the plane. I'm done. I'm out. I'm here. 20 minutes. I'm in Manila. There's people talk about it take hours sometimes for them. Mine was fast as fast could be. So I get through all that. I go outside. So I walk outside, and she's going to meet me at the airport. So she's already got her a cab, and she's headed up there. And this is the first time, man, we're going to meet, and we're going to see each other face to face. And just like about every video I ever saw of first meet LDR in the Philippines, it was exactly the same way, man. It's like we get there the first time we see each other. She runs up, hugs me, gives me a kiss, and she's on my side the whole way. From the moment we pretty much got there till the moment I left, that's about the way it was. And started our trip. And that's it. I'm not going to go much further into that as far as that. There's things that happened. After a few weeks together, I quickly learned that she was really a decent person. She really was, but there was just some things that were different that I didn't know if we could kind of work past. But I mean, it probably could have. Probably would have been a lot better maybe if I was there and actually moved there and living in the Philippines. But as an LDR, it was something I didn't think I wanted to continue to do. As far as, I mean, she's, like I say, she was even more attractive when I met her in person, but you know, that had nothing to do with it. I think she was a little more outgoing. I didn't drink and party, and you know, she did a little bit of that. It was a little more than I was probably interested in being a part of. It just a little younger than me, but you know, that was to expected. She was a young lady, and I will say this, not to dish out everything on past relationships or anything like that, but it is true to some extent that a lot of times they're not as faithful as you would hope they would be, and a lot of times, and it's just not Filipinas that do that. Not everyone does do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not including every Filipino. It's just some are that way, especially when they're really young and stuff. I mean, you could imagine a young, attractive woman, they get ahead on all the time, even in the Philippines. So don't trick yourself into thinking you might be the only one. So there's a chance it possibly could be, no telling how many they could be. But in my situation, she wasn't 100% exclusive to me. I later found out, but that's neither here nor there. For whatever reason, after I done my trip, and I loved it. I loved the trip, man. As I said in the other video, I spent 30 days in the Philippines, and it absolutely changed my thought pattern. I was locked in from like I say the first day, but when I hit boots on the ground and I spent some time there, it really resonated with me how nice and wonderful this place was. Not everything in the Philippines is a paradise. Don't get me wrong there. And not every place in the Philippines is slums, but they are poor areas in parts of the Philippines, big area in Manila, and I saw some of that. In my travels around the island and different cities, I saw a good bit of it. And if you're not prepared to take that in, prepare yourself, because it's there. Not everything's Makati Avenue. Not everything is BGC. And get yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, but also watch what you're doing there, because you could, bad places are everywhere. So just watch and mind your P's and Q's when you're doing that. Don't get caught out in the middle of the night alone in some of these places like that. Especially around the bars. Please watch yourself on that. I don't do bars, but I've had many of friends over the years have got themselves hurt, put in jail, this and that, because one, they probably consumed a little more alcohol than they should, got beside themselves, or was in the presence of someone else who did that. So, sort of why I don't really drink much alcohol, and me just never was a good companion. So I kind of keep things as sober as I can, and everything, and I'll stick to a little bit of water. But prepare yourself for going over there. I say that because seeing the slums, I mean, it's sad, and it's an easy way to get took advantage of, because your heart feels for some of those people, and you want to help as much as you can, but a lot of times you trying to help can hinder their progress, and that's a whole nother topic. Plan your trip out as best you can. Learn all you can. Watch every video that you possibly can watch. I'd hope that you choose to watch mine. I hope that my videos are informative for you. I hope you like. I'm not a very eloquent speaker. I know that. I'm not the best thing to look at in a video, but I am somebody that's went to the Philippines. I'm an American who got burnt out of the everyday grind in the U.S. and burnout of women here. I don't like how things are in the U.S. anymore. I don't like I don't know how you say it. I don't like the dating culture. I don't like marriage culture, for that matter, in the United States. It's not me. I'm a traditional kind of person. I want a traditional relationship where a man has a man's role and a woman has a woman's role, with respect to both people and both partners. And that's not found very often here anymore. I don't care much about the lifestyle in America anymore. I found too much love in the Philippines just for the people and the culture. You could take Filipinos completely out of it, and I would love this place. I really would. I hope you enjoyed this. This is me finishing the part one of how I got into the Philippines, how I found out about the Philippines. And I said this before, as I go along, I'm going to try to post as often as I can. I'll try to post a time or two a week at least, at minimum, so I can keep content. I hope this is for you. I hope you enjoy what you're seeing. If there's anything you got to say, good or bad, I understand. Try to keep everything as clean as possible. But if there's something you want to hear about, if there's something you want to hear me talk about, let me know. I'll try my best to get it in one of these videos. I apologize for me if I ramble, because I can tend to do that sometimes. But this is me telling my story of the Philippines. And as things come up, I'll tell the story about that particular event. But this gives a little bit of backstory. I hope you will like it. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Like, subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications, and watch as long as you can. I'm doing this to grow my channel, and who knows, maybe one day I'll make $1 off of it. So we get the subscribers that we need. We'll get the views that we need. We will eventually get that to that point. I appreciate you for coming along with me this far. I thank you for all of our new subscribers. I think I've got 13 at this point. It's a very low number. I understand that, but you know what? Before I can get to 100, I got to get to 13, and I've made it there. So hopefully I'll get to 100, and before you know it, I'll have 1,000. And who knows, maybe I'll get to 100,000 at some point, but I hope you liked the video. See you in the next one. Take care.